collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Deluxe Class Skullgrin from the Transformers Legacy line from Hasbro. Pretty standard packaging here. We have the little cutout, no plastic over the window. You can see Skullgrin is a little shy right now. He's got a plastic tie keeping the horns together. Got some nice artwork of the vehicle mode here on the front. Some nice artwork of the robot mode over here on the side. And then on this side, that typical Decepticon picture we always get. Nothing going on the bottom or the top. And then on the back here, we have some nice product shots of the robot mode and the vehicle mode. Got the QR code for the tech specs as well. So I'm going to go ahead, get him out of the box here, and we'll take a closer look. Here is Skullgrin out of the packaging. I think he looks pretty good. Robot mode is pretty solid. It's kind of a nice blend between the original robot mode and the Pretender shell. I would say the chest is mostly reminiscent of the interior robot's body, and then all of the skull parts and pretty much the legs as well are very reminiscent of the original Pretender shell. He's got this tiny little tail here on the back, which is kind of adorable. He's got these two cannons here. You can take those off if you'd like. You actually can take this entire piece off, which I might just do because it doesn't like to cooperate during transformation. But you have these two cannons here, which are done in the, like, maroon, magenta, whatever color you want to call that. And then the cannons are painted gunmetal gray, which looks pretty good. And he can hold these in his hands if you like. Or you can peg them here on the sides of the shoulder if you want something like that. I'm honestly surprised he doesn't have some kind of peg hole here on the side of the legs. But I think it might just have to do with fragility just because of how thin they are. But I could be wrong. But you do have a couple options of where you can store these weapons. I'm just going to go ahead and take them off for now. He does come with two other accessories. These kind of gun blades, gun swords, whatever you would like to call them. So they are molded in this white plastic, which I have to say is a little bit flimsy. It's not ridiculously soft, but it is a more malleable plastic than these guns. These are 100% solid. So, but again, they're done in white. The gunmetal gray is painted on very nicely. He can hold these as swords. He can use these as guns. You can also peg these onto the side if you want to do something like that to kind of have like a longer bladed arm weapon, something like that. And I actually kind of like this look, you can go ahead and plug these onto the side of the little tail piece and then peg these onto the back. And I kind of like that look, honestly. That's not bad. I kind of like that. So again, you have a lot of options with the weapons. He basically comes with 4 accessories, which I think is pretty cool. So for now, I will pop the guns back on. And then I'll put this piece back on a little bit later, just so we can run through articulation here. The head sculpt, I think, is pretty good. I really like the pink paint for the eyes. I think that works really well. You can fold the horns in as they were in the package. That's really more for transformation later. And then you have a little bit of movement here with these back horns. The head can look ridiculously far up, and that's really just to get out of the way for transformation, but still can be utilized. You can look about down that far. I usually try to leave it somewhere around in here. We can, move the head from side to side. Can't really tilt from side to side all that much, but can certainly look side to side, no problem. You have a swivel here in the shoulder as well as a hinge. Now, because of these shoulder pieces here, you can go about that far, but you don't really need to go much further than that. You have a bicep swivel. You have pretty good bend there. I would say over 90 degrees there in the elbow. Nothing in the wrist because they just fold into these rather hollow forearms here. You do also have a peg here. So if you wanted to kind of put the bladed weapon here under his arm, you could do something like that as well, which is kind of a cool look. I actually kind of like that a lot. So pretty cool. He's, like I said, he's got a lot of options for the various weapons. You do have a waist swivel as well. Some really nice detail here for this belt. You have the little skull there. Unfortunately, though, because of these pieces here, that's about as far as you can get out of the legs out to the side. You can certainly go forward and back. You can kind of push this a little bit. There we go. So yeah, you can get pretty good back and forth movement, but out to the side it kind of hits that. You can see where the white piece hits into that right there. And I don't know why. I guess that's just how they had to attach this, because I feel like you could have found a way to attach these to the front and back and leave this section open, but I assume it's more stable if it's one solid piece. But Unfortunately, does hinder out to the side movement there in the hip. But you have a thigh swivel, you have some hollowness in the thighs here. The legs are kind of hollow, but that's because of all the pieces that compact into there. You have 90 degrees in the knee. You do have some ankle tilts. Not too much of a problem there. And you do have this piece that kind of comes out to kind of fill in that area, which I think is actually kind of cool. I do appreciate that. Not really too much front to back. But yeah, overall, he's got decent articulation. I think the robot mode is fairly solid. I do like the look of it. I'm going to go ahead and pop this back on here. So the only thing when you have this on is it might hinder the waist articulation a little bit, but you just have to kind of move that tail out of the way, and then you should be fine. But yeah, robot mode's not too bad. I want to do a quick little comparison here with Bombburst and Iguanus, since these are the other two Decepticon pretenders we have. I really just don't know why these aren't all in the same scale, and that's really the only part that bothers me. Especially Skullgrin and Bombburst, because they were kind of like two of the three main Decepticon pretenders. They're both in Master Force. They should be around the same size. So it's very strange to me to do these like this. I'm wondering if they had an idea of how they wanted to do the transformation, and then it was too difficult to scale down, and that's why they left them a deluxe. But I just wish they were consistent. I mean, either all deluxes or all core class, either is fine. But having just one of them be larger than the rest is kind of weird to me. Alright, so let's get into the transformation. I'm going to go ahead and just take this off. First, you're going to fold the tail up like that. And then I'm just going to take this off for now for simplicity. You can leave it on the whole time. There's nothing that would get in the way. I just find it easier to take it off. So we're going to straighten out the arms. We're going to go ahead and fold those fists back into the forearms like so. You're going to fold the horns together. You're going to lift this section up. You're going to flip this open like so. Then you're going to tuck this down. And then you're going to lift up kind of where the magenta back piece meets the gunmetal gray. You're going to split it there. And then this is actually going to fold all the way through like so. Now, the directions never say that you have to flip these back horns up, but they want you to eventually close this panel, and I just feel like it's too difficult to do that without doing this. So I definitely think you have to go ahead and fold those horns up. I really don't see how you would close this panel up otherwise. And mine doesn't like stay all the way. It stays enough. It's not a problem, but I feel like that should lock down a little bit more solidly, but it doesn't really. So then you're going to take this white piece here. Don't grab on this. Grab on just the white piece and pop that up. You can see there's a little slider there. Then you're going to take these and fold them 90 degrees toward you. And then we are going to bring this... Actually, I folded these the wrong way, so I'm sorry. You're going to fold them 90 degrees the other way. And basically what's going to happen is you have these two white tabs here. They're going to tab into these spots here on the bicep. And then the two arms are going to tab together via these two tabs right here. So bring this in. This is going to tab in like that. Then this is going to tab in, tab these together. Make sure that's all tabbed in together. And there you go. That is pretty much the back section of your tank mode. So next we're going to take the waist section, and you can see that there's a bar right here. That's a hinge. This is going to hinge in like this, and then just kind of make sure, I mean, you don't really have to push anything anywhere, but there is a little space here on the back of the waist that the horns can kind of sit in if you need the space. Then you're going to bring these up at the hip like so. Then we're going to straighten out the legs, come around to the back, grab a hold of these giant tank tread pieces, and flip these up like so. Now, most things that are made of white or cast in white are the malleable plastic, very similar to the gun pieces. So the tabs here, sometimes it's a little easier, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes the little bit more malleable plastic can get into peg holes a little bit easier. And it stays fairly well. I feel like there's enough friction. It shouldn't be a problem. But a lot of people online have been kind of criticizing these. I feel like this, it's not too bad. It's solid enough. And you shouldn't run into too many problems getting things to stay in place. But just something to be wary of. You're going to bring the feet down here, and you can see there are these little tabs here on the side. They're going to tab in right there. So just bring the feet down and peg them into place like so. Then you're going to lift this up. You can see that there's a little tab right there. When you lift this up, that is going to tab into that little section right there. So bring this up. It'll kind of accordion down a little bit. And then you can tab that in. Repeat the process with the second leg. Do that. And then you're going to just peg the two legs together like so. And then just make sure everything's tabbed in. And then you're getting pretty close to being done, honestly. You're going to bring this up. You're going to swivel this out to the side. And you can see that there is a tab spot right there, which is going to tab onto that. And then there are two tabs right there and there, which are going to tab in right here and here. So kind of bring this up. And what I find easy to do is do these first. So kind of get this. Actually, you can do that part first. Sometimes it just depends what clicks in easier. So bring this in and click that in there like so. Swivel that to the side. Bring this up. Get that. And then tab this all in here like so. And then we're going to bring this piece back and sit this on top. And there we go. That is the vehicle mode. So yeah, I guess this is the tank mode. There's no wheels or anything to speak of. The treads are molded in, obviously, but it doesn't roll in any way. Usually with tank treads, they like to put like a little tiny wheel or something there. Didn't happen this time. I mean, the only other thing I could think of is maybe on the bottom of the feet, but I can understand why they didn't want to do that because it would make him unstable in robot mode. So yeah, he just is a brick. He doesn't move or have any wheels of any kind. You have these guns here, which of course you can turn around like so. They can move up and down to a certain extent. Stop about there, move down to about there. The directions want you to take these and you can peg them here on the side if you want, or if you want to move them up a little bit more, you can peg them up here. Whatever you want to do with those is up to you. But yeah, he's basically just a brick. I will say this for it. It holds together pretty solidly. Much more solidly than I was expecting. Like, he's not flimsy in any way. He is a brick. You can see up here what I was talking about where I said the chest didn't really stay in as much as I'd like it to, but it's good enough. It's not a problem. There's a lot of empty space in here, though. That's kind of a bummer. I wish there was some kind of panel to just close over this, because that's just a lot of empty space there. I guess I can see what they were going for. The original toy was very similar in its vehicle mode for the inner robot, where the hands came up and turned into these guns, and he did have guns up top, and those were the hands. The hands swiveled up, and then there was a fist that rotated out, and the gun was hidden in the forearm. So these would have been the inner robot's arms, and then I think the legs flipped around to the back, and he had like a little canopy here. So they're trying to mimic that. It did have these big treads built into the side of the legs as well. I don't know. I think if this was a core class, they could have sold it a little bit better. I wouldn't mind so much it just being a brick if he was core class. But the fact that he's a deluxe, I feel like it should be more exciting than this. It's fine. It's a tank of sorts. And it's somewhat similar to the original vehicle mode, so I get what they were going for. I don't hate it. It's just not super exciting. It's just, and it doesn't have any wheels or anything, which I feel hurts it. I get it. I get why they couldn't really put anything down here or here, but you definitely, I feel like, could have put some kind of little wheels in there. It would have been something. It wouldn't have been much, but it would have been something. It's fine. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's closer to terrible, but I don't hate it. Honestly, I get what they were going for. It's just, I really just don't like that empty space right there. That's really kind of a bummer. So Skullgrin's alright. He's definitely not perfect, but there is some good here. I really like the head sculpt here. I think they did a really nice job with the skull head. I like the robot mode. It's a nice blend of the inner robot mode as well as the Pretender shell. I think they did a good job with that. I love the number of accessories that he comes with. I mean, he's got 2 guns and 2 sword guns, and you can use any of them as handheld weapons, arm-mounted weapons, forearm-mounted weapons. He's got a lot of options there. I really like that a lot. I think the color scheme works well. Again, very indicative of the original G1 toy. So pretty much everything having to do with the robot mode, I like. I like even like the little dinky tail. I think that's kind of fun. So I do really like the robot mode. I feel like it's pretty solid, holds together well, and I do have to say the same about the vehicle mode. It really does hold together well. The transformation's not too difficult. It's just that the alt mode that you're left with is kind of a boring quote-unquote tank, but really it's just a brick that they put guns on top of. There's no wheels on the bottom, which is definitely a bummer. There's a lot of empty space in the middle there for the vehicle mode, and it's just not that exciting of an alt mode. I get what they were going with, again, trying to do something similar to the alt mode of the original Inside Pretender robot, but it's just very lackluster. Like, that one had little wheels, it had a dynamic, very interesting stylized look. This is just a complete rectangle with guns on top. So I like the robot mode, and seeing as how that's probably going to be how I display him anyway, I'm not super worried about it. But the vehicle mode's just not super fun. Also, I think it's weird that they've given us 2 Pretenders so far in the core class, and this is our first one in the deluxe class. I don't like having them in different scales. I mean, it will be one thing if, you know, Bomb Burst and Skullgrin were both deluxes and then Iguanus was a core class, because I feel like, okay, then we're just kind of doing Pretenders in different scales. But Bomb Burst and Skullgrin should be in the same size class because of how like closely related they are in terms of Master Force, but also just in terms of the original toys that came out. Like, there were 3 main Decepticon Pretenders, and they should all be the same size class in this line. So it's not ruining it for me, but it's definitely something that does bother me. Maybe other people don't care as much, and I can totally understand that. But to me, it's just weird to just throw this one random Pretender into the deluxe class when all the rest have been core class so far. But if we're just judging this guy on his own, I think the robot mode's pretty solid. The vehicle mode is just kind of boring. I also don't love the white, flimsier plastic. It's honestly, in hand, not as flimsy as I was led to believe it was from other things I've seen online, but it is pliable. It is kind of a more malleable plastic. But luckily, it doesn't really stop it from staying together well in the vehicle mode, so I do at least appreciate that. And honestly, the swords aren't too bad. I just hope they hold up over time. I hope that gunmetal gray paint doesn't flake off because they are a more malleable plastic. But only time will tell. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks so much for watching.